tuning in. Welcome to another episode of Double B Creates. This is Brad and Kevin. We're coming at you with a new flavor this week. This is somebody who's in an interesting department as far as business ownership. Somebody who we haven't ever, somebody who's in an industry that we haven't ever talked about. So pretty cool. Today we're talking to Mark Dudek, and what he is doing is, hopefully I pronounced that right, is hardscaping.
Perfect.
If you look up online, check out Mark Dudek. He's the hardscape hacker. So
Absolutely.
why don't you go ahead and start off telling everyone where they can find you, and then we'll get into it.
Good deal. Yeah, they can find me on Facebook. Of course, I'm on there more than anything. At CSD Hardscapes, or I started a new public figure page as the Hardscape Hacker. It's kind of an identity I've taken on through the suggestion of a few friends of mine. So I've got the public figure page. I got the business page at CSD Hardscapes. We do things that are just amazing with the elements that we use. We can really design and install anything hardscaping wise that you can imagine. So it's been a long road. I've spent time in the military. I became a commercial electrician by trade, and then got the opportunity to get into the hardscaping and discovered a system that makes virtually anything possible. And it's something I really got passionate about, and something I decided to go with. So, it sprouted from there, really.
So tell people a little bit about what the difference is between landscaping and hardscaping.
Landscaping and hardscaping. Landscaping is of course, everybody's first thought is, cut my yard. Landscaping also involves, any kind of shrubbery you may have around the house, things of that nature. Whereas hardscaping and hardscaping gets compared with what they call softscaping, of course, is landscaping at the same time. Softscaping is defined as things that can be moved. Grass can be moved, bushes can be moved, trees can be moved. So that all falls under softscaping. Hardscaping is things that once they're installed cannot be moved. Say outdoor kitchens, patio areas, fire pits, retaining walls, things of that nature. So that's the big difference. And you'd be amazed at how many times when I first started with the hardscaping, I've gotten both calls, email inquiries, and messages about selling sod, where, that's considered a softscaping. I don't do sod. So I had to, I'm trying to not necessarily dispel the myth between the two, but clarify that,
it was kind of funny when Kevin brought up what you did. I'm like, yeah, landscaping. He goes, no, dude, look it up. I had to look it up because I've never heard about it. And it's pretty intriguing to me.
It is. A few years ago, I was new to the hardscaping because, as I said, I was trained as a commercial electrician. So when I first got into hardscaping and came across the opportunity, I had to learn a whole lot about it myself. And a lot of people, when they hear hardscaping, they think landscaping, and I get it all the time. So there's a big difference between the two. And it's really trying to not necessarily change people's mindset, but inform people that there's a huge difference between landscaping and hardscaping. There are a lot of the contractors that do both work with each other. Like me as a hardscape contractor, I work with a lot of landscape contractors because they get business, and they'll cut somebody's yard, for example, and they may see an opportunity there and say, hey, talk to their existing customer and say, you know what, just a suggestion, you may improve your entertaining space or actually improve your home's value by adding, say, a retaining wall or a patio area, and they'll refer that customer to me. And I'm the same way. When I go out and do estimates for people, I'll suggest, hey, I see your grass is, not necessarily where you want it to be for this area. If you're going to include this patio area, I know I got a great guy that can take care of it for you. So we do a lot of cross promotion. So that always helps. But yeah, there's absolutely that. There's that mindset that, all of that falls kind of under the umbrella of landscaping. That's what people think. So I'm always on a mission to try to educate people, I guess you could say.
That's why I started off with that question, because a lot of people are like, oh, hardscape, isn't that landscape? I'm like, no, they're not putting in grass and stuff like that. You're talking fireplaces, water features, outdoor kitchen.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
landscaping. I'm like, no.
There's a huge difference, but they complement each other well.
Yeah. It's kind of like a computer. They're like, oh, software. No, it's hardware. Well, what's the difference? Okay, well, here.
Yeah. Laptop versus hard drive. Yeah, there you go. The Windows 10 versus the fan that cools your computer off. Yeah, kind of the same thing.
Exactly. So right after we had connected, you went through some pretty rough shit.
I did.
We met, 2 years ago or something like that. And I think it was like 3 months after we connected, you went through a heart attack.
I did. Absolutely.
Kind of, if you don't mind, I mean, what was it like recovering from that and then getting back into physical labor as fast as you did?
The physical part of it was rough. I'll say that what really got me through was mindset. I knew, that was I looked at it as a setback. I had to get back to work because, being the sole provider in my household, I had to provide for everybody. So that was my mindset. When the day after I went into the emergency room, I had a stent put in. And the first question I had for the doctor when he showed up was, when can I go back to work? And he kind of shockingly looked at me and said, dude, it's going to be at least a week. And I said, no, I can't wait that long. I got to get back to work like tomorrow. When can I get out of the hospital? So it was a lot of things that caused that. It runs in my family, of course, and spending several years on the road traveling for work, eating nothing but fast food every day, that certainly didn't help. But like I said, it was a mindset thing. The physical part didn't affect me as much as the mental part, because I knew I was going to be out for that week. So that bothered me more than, the physical portion of it. I was sore from where they did the surgery to put in the stent. And I knew going forward, I had to watch what I ate and what I intook. Is that really a word?
It's a word now.
Yeah, it is now. Hashtag. I knew I had to watch more of what I put into my body going forward, but the mental portion of it was far worse. It was. I'm a typical male. I'm invincible. Nothing can happen to me. You know what I mean? And when that happened, it kind of it sent me a message, really, that, hey, I'm not invincible. I really need to watch what I'm doing. So I mean, it affected a lot of areas in my life, but I took it as a learning lesson. And like I said, I couldn't wait to get back to work because I had that responsibility going forward. So I dealt with it. I did what I had to do to get the doctor to clear me to go back to work. And I went back to work, and I've been running ever since.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
I'll give you an update. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I'll give you an update. At the prime young age of now 48 years old, I've had 2 heart attacks and 2 stents put in. And I don't plan on having a third, because I don't plan on standing still long enough to have one.
I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, we've had like 6 or 7 people at my job have heart attacks and they haven't come back, just because their body just can't take it. And they're a little younger than you were, and everybody asks, why are they not coming back? Blah 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 blah. It's like, well, sometimes they drew the wrong card.
Amen. I'll tell you this: I consider myself very fortunate. Somebody's looking out for me, and there's much more to that statement of somebody's looking out for me than anyone will ever know. I could tell you stories upon stories, but all I can say is when it's your time to go, it's your time to go. A prime example: when I was in the military, we were not famous for doing like huge group run, what we called battalion runs, and this is like 7,000 to 8,000 people. But on one particular run, we had an 18-year-old kid just joined the military, hadn't been in our unit a month, and we were doing one of these battalion runs. And during that run, just dropped, had a massive heart attack, and died on the spot at 18 years old. So I mean, it doesn't matter if you're 18 or 48 like I am, or 70 or 80. When it's your time, it's your time. But I consider myself very fortunate having lived through 2 of them. As I said, when we first started, the last time I was back in California was 2003 to bury my dad. He passed away of his 3rd. And I hope not to get to that point. But, it's I have a little bit of say in that, but it's not ultimately my decision, and I accept that. So that just goes to show you, age doesn't matter. It's something beyond that.
So I think this is a really good, perfect opportunity to ask you. We have one scripted question that we ask everybody.
Right? Absolutely.
What is your personal definition of success?
My personal definition, I would say when you can ultimately enjoy life. And what I mean by ultimately enjoy life, when you have the peace of mind knowing that everything as far as your domestic life, bills, roof over your head, vehicle to drive, things like that are taken care of. And you have the time and the convenience and the money, of course, to do what you want when you want. I think that's the ultimate definition of success. When you have the ability to not have to go to work because you have to, but go to work because you want to, and give back to others. When you can help others succeed and enjoy doing that, and you're not confined by that typical 9 to 5, as they say, or in my industry, 7 to 3:30, or whenever the job's done. When you're able to do stuff like that, when you're able to take care of your own and give back to others, that's the ultimate definition of success.
I like it.
I like that.
That one is another unique one. We almost always get a different answer. And
that's great.
Why I love that question so much.
Because that's an awesome question.
I'll pop onto social media periodically, and I'll just ask like my friends, I guess, my connections on social. I'll get people all the time to have a lot of money.
Yeah.
No.
And I get that a lot too. And I'm going to follow that by saying, after this interview, when I go back and get on my Facebook page, I'm going to propose that same question. And I used to do, when Facebook had you could create a poll. For some reason lately I haven't been able to do that, because I thought of a few over the last weekend. But I'm going to try to either figure out how to do that, or just ask the question and then type A, B, and C, and ask people to answer A, B, or C. But I'm going to ask that very question. And with the groups that I'm in, as far as veteran business owner groups and general business groups, I'm going to see what kind of answers I get, and I'll get back to you and let you know what I find out.
Just tag us in it and we'll find it.
Yeah,
There you
that'd
go.
be awesome.
Yeah, because I like to leave it open-ended because you always get like that one group of people that doesn't get it.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you've got this big group of people that like every one of them's completely different. But
Yep.
in the end, to me, it seems like it always comes back to living your life the way that you want to do it and help others. I mean,
Exactly.
it's
kind of cool. So
I think
Awesome.
the biggest reason we asked that is we got our mind blown our first podcast. We got our mind blown on it, and we're like, we should literally see everybody else's thoughts. And I mean, there's been a bunch of people that have been really close in the same answer, but different wording. But then there's
Right.
those unique ones that just kind of makes you stop and you look and you think about it, and you know what? That's an awesome answer. And
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just something unique to everybody.
Yeah. I agree.
absolutely should be dynamic.
Yeah.
So it's fun to see what everybody says.
Yeah, it's definitely a good way to see who your friends are in a sense that, you know, with the different answers that you get. And it's a good way to get to know everybody better. You know, I think as a society as a whole today, we don't talk enough. You know, we follow what's on the news. We follow what's on the reality shows. We don't talk to each other anymore.
Yeah,
And
we do talk. We're talking through one of these.
yeah, exactly. And when you find a group that you talk to, not really talk to, but converse well with, I think a lot of people stick to that one group, and nobody's willing to expand their minds anymore. You know, we can't have conversations the way we used to. Just because we don't agree doesn't mean we can't be friends.
You know, I it's funny that you brought that up because my first like entrepreneurial circle, I guess you would say, came from an event that we went to. Well, I went to 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, and then I met all these people like Colby K, Sean Whalen, Dave Daly, bunch of others, and then I meet Rob Garcia, which is how you and I met.
Right.
And then I meet like Abigail Sinclair and Tamara Collins and all these other people. So I'm like in this other circle. And then I added like one person the other like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I've had seriously, it's still going, and I just like quit accepting people. my freaking accepted friend or people that added you or whatever on Facebook is exploding. And it's all this other circle of people. And so we actually interviewed one guy from that other circle yesterday. He was fucking incredible.
It was awesome.
It was just, it's kind of interesting to see, like, it's Google. What did Google tried that social media bullshit with their circles, right?
Like Google Plus or something.
Right.
Or Google.
And
it's something like that.
It kind of looks like that to me because like you've got this circle of entrepreneurial people here, this one here, this one here, this one here, but they never mesh.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to like, I kind of have this weird new mission to like take all of these circles and just like network them. It'll be cool. Because
absolutely, that'd be awesome.
Not only are we going to promote each other, it's going to be beneficial to both parties. You know, you get your circles going.
Absolutely.
I think in business, a lot of your customer base comes off of the people that you know and word of mouth. But more people that know what you do, they're like, oh, hey, if I'm in Florida or whatever and I want my yard done, who do I talk to? Everyone's going to be like, oh, this dude. The Hardscape hacker.
That's the goal. Yeah, believe me, when I first started the hardscaping business, as I said, you know, I was a commercial electrician, And the reason I got into the hardscaping was that I was actually looking for a job as an electrician, and came across an ad on Craigslist, which I don't follow and put too much faith in anymore because they've gotten so ridiculous with scam ads. But this one intrigued me because the headline was "Veterans Wanted," and I said, "Okay, well, I'm a veteran. I'm going to look into it." So I started looking into it, and instead of contacting the person in the ad directly, I did my due diligence and researched the whole thing. And the parent company that trained me is called Stonemakers. They're based out of New Hampshire, and you can look them up on YouTube. They're amazing. But when I finally got into it, and as a business owner, I thought, okay, now I know this incredible stuff. My business is just going to take off, and then reality set in, and I realized it's not going to happen. So I kept doing electrical work. But as a veteran business owner, I started I started looking at groups on Facebook, and several of the groups that I got into, Rob Garcia is in. And through him, same as you, I met Abigail, I met Tamara, I've met several people recently. Michael Dobo, who you said you had on.
Mm-hmm.
It seems that I don't want to say I'm more comfortable and more at home in different veteran groups, but just different business groups. I'm actually going to a veteran business owner's grand opening next weekend in Virginia. And for me, that's like a 4.5 hour drive, but I'm going to go just because a lot of people that I know are going to be there.
Hell yeah.
But I think I've learned more in the veteran business owner groups that I've been involved in, and have grown more within those groups. And now we're actually starting to develop our own kind of subgroups of the main group that we're all in, so we can get that kind of closer. I've known you for X amount of years on Facebook in general. Let's meet in person. Like in one particular group, I think there's 37 veteran business owners here in North Carolina alone. So we're trying to organize, an event so that all of us can come to that and actually meet in person, everybody that we've known on Facebook for years. So what I want to try to do is organize something so that, maybe one or two groups per state can kind of do the same thing, depending on the size of the state. Like North Carolina, it'd probably be just this one. Maybe in California, it'd be two. Florida, maybe two. Things like that, so that we can all come together and learn from each other to help each other grow. And that's what we're all about, and that's what I love about it, and that's why I've become so tight with a lot of these groups. It's things the way things have become recently. Everybody's all about me, and not helping each other out. There was Rob will tell you, and I know where he got it, but he probably won't tell you where he got it. But his quote he often says is, "A rising tide lifts all ships." And I firmly believe in that. You help me, I help you. We might together help this other guy. And Michael, Michael Dobo is a perfect example. A lot of us came together to help him get out of the situation that he was in and better his situation. And we don't ask anything in return. We just want to see somebody do better.
Yep.
So, that's a big part of what I've been doing lately. I started thinking less of me and more of us, and it's really helped me in the long run, both business wise and personal wise. I've learned a lot in both areas, so that's what I'm going to try to expand on moving forward.
That's one thing I love talking to veterans about, is because every one of them that we've talked to says it's not about yourself. Like, it is, but it's not. If you're doing great, that's awesome. But there's always these other people that need help. And
Right.
I think that we live in a world that's so fucked up. Everyone's just so worried about themselves that they don't want to help anybody else, or they'll
Exactly.
make some bullshit excuse. So, oh, I've only got $400 until my next check, but I only need 200 to survive, so I'm not going to give them $20. Like,
Yeah.
what the fuck? Really?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, it just, maybe it's a mindset thing. Oh, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is. It's a mindset thing, and
Uh, they just piss me off so much.
you and me both. Believe me, I'll give you a perfect example. 20 years ago, when you're driving down the freeway and get off the freeway, how many people would you see at the bottom of the off ramp with their cardboard signs versus nowadays?
Yeah.
People want everything handed to them versus having the mindset of I got to go out and work for it and earn what I got.
Well, not only that, you get them now. They're like, I take PayPal, Venmo, Cash App, Cash Me, whatever, Cash, Apple Pay. I'm like, really?
Yeah, exactly.
If you're that desperate for help, but you can afford a phone, you can call and put in
whatever happened to cold hard cash?
I mean, shit. It is mind blowing.
It is. I can tell you, my personal belief is think back to the days when MTV actually played music videos. Try to find a music video on MTV today.
Yeah.
Yeah, it won't happen.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a lot of channels are like that. It's everybody's been conditioned to think like that. What about me? I'm going to enjoy watching somebody else's turmoil that's not really going to ultimately affect me. How many communities, how many of these subdivisions are going up nowadays that you see don't have sidewalks between houses? It's discouraging people from talking to each other.
Well, not only that, then they put rules out there. Can't have 2 cars in your driveway.
Yeah.
We're going to fine you.
HOAs. Don't even get me started on HOAs, brother.
Dude,
good Lord.
I lived in an HOA, okay? And I got a little bit of spray paint on the concrete right next to the street, and they fined me $50.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
And then I had to go to the store, get airplane remover, freaking scrape it up, send them a picture, say I fixed it. And I was like, screw this, I'm done. So I left. And freaking now, dude, I live in the middle of, Brad can attest, freaking nowhere. I live by my own damn rules. There's HOAs suck so bad.
Hey, man, let me tell you, I bought my house. The main reason I bought the house that I have now is because it sits on 6.5 acres.
Nice.
I got about 1.5 acres that's cleared. That's where the house sits. I got a welding shop on one side of me, an auto mechanic shop on the other side of me. I don't see neighbors. I don't hear neighbors. Everybody leaves me alone. I do what the hell I want, and nobody says anything.
There you go.
Having grown up in San Diego where it's sidewalks and everywhere and people knows everything that you're doing, I love where I'm at. I hate to leave North Carolina, but it's not conducive to my business. So that's the main reason we're moving to Florida.
Well, I mean, I would love to live on a land like that, but I mean, if you can't better yourself, you've got to move to an area where you can better yourself.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I could do electrical work for the rest of my life. I've been doing it 14 years, and I'm in a good position now. I'm making decent money. I'm keeping bills paid, but I'm not advancing. You know what I mean? I've gone. I don't want to say I've gone as far as I can because sure I can go farther. I've been an electrical foreman. I've been an electrical superintendent, but as everybody knows, with great response or what is it? Great. What's the quote from Spider-Man?
With great power comes great responsibility.
Exactly. There you go.
Something like that.
And a lot of times it's not worth the headache. But having my own business, sure, there's tons of headache. Believe me, I've had 3 years of growing pains. But there's another saying that says work 100 hours for yourself so you don't have to work 40 hours for somebody else.
Yep.
Same mindset as owning a home. Pay your own mortgage, not somebody else's. So I mean, I like the freedom of owning my own business, and I like the learning because believe me, I'm a dummy when it comes to business itself. I can go out there and talk to somebody for 3 hours about how adding this water feature is not only going to add value to their property if they decide to sell it, but it's going to add countless family memories that are going to last a lifetime. Somebody goes out their back door and sees a barren backyard. Well, think of this, and I can actually, I'm getting to where I can draw them a decent sketch. The guy that taught me oh my God, he's amazing at sketches, and I've actually paid him to send me sketches for potential customers. But I'm getting to the point where I can start drawing decent hand drawn sketches of what your backyard's going to look like when it's done versus computer animated stuff, because that's generic. But when you actually draw out what somebody's backyard can look like, and it puts that personal touch and affects them more, it's the joy of being able to do that and being able to actually, in a sense, change people's lives. Because like I said, you go out your back door and you see a barren backyard. Well, what if you go out there and you have a nice, amazing patio area with a fire pit and seating area, and then off to the side you've got an awesome water feature with lights, and you got that ambiance. You know what I mean? You can't put a price tag on that. So that's why I love doing what I do.
Speaking of, if you ever come to Utah, I need some work done.
I got somebody in Utah. I'll find you somebody in Utah. You know what? We got dealers all across the country. You send me your address. I'll find you somebody that in Utah that does what I do.
Cool.
Yeah, his barren desert in his backyard.
Yeah, I live in the desert in the middle of freaking nowhere. My town has like 250 people total, if that.
As long as you have access to electricity and really that's it. That's all we require for what we do. You got to have electricity, of course, to run the water pump that's going to pump the water over your water feature. But yeah, if you want to be the envy of your entire neighborhood, give me a shout.
I don't want to do that. I just want some fireplace done.
Yeah.
Some concrete.
You know what I love the most is having that fire element and the water element together.
Yeah,
dude, that's
cool.
You sit back there with a nice 12 pack and a little bit of soft music playing in the background. You can't beat that.
Yeah, it was like
especially after a hard day.
My old place, man. We had a 10,000 gallon.
It was something like that.
Pond. It was a double pond with triple freaking waterfalls and all this stuff. Fire pit, man, you couldn't beat it. It was so nice.
Awesome.
Yeah, we spent many a night eating pizza and just talking in back there. That was nice.
They just ordered pizza, and then people would come up to deliver it, and they'd be like, "Is this your yard?" No, I'm just sitting in it. Like,
yeah, I'm borrowing the neighbors.
Man, this is cool.
I'll tell you what, you guys want to upgrade your fire pit game? Go on YouTube and look up a fire pit called Blazing Beats. We install these, and it's a game changer. You can install it in your backyard. You can install it on your front porch, like I have a concrete, front porch. You can install it anywhere. It's mobile, but this thing works off of propane and Bluetooth. Of course, the fire pit portion of it runs on propane, but you can hook your phone up to it, play whatever music you want, and the flames will dance to the music.
Oh,
like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That sounds so cool.
I'm gonna look that up right after we're done.
There's two videos. There's like a 1.5 minute long video. That's the short version. Look up the long version, and it shows the different types of music. There's literally a guy beatboxing, and it dances to that. But I mean, it plays any kind of music. Whatever you play, it's gonna dance to it.
I dig it.
That's cool.
Yeah. They're awesome.
So when you have somebody come to you that wants you to do something for their backyard, what steps do you go through when you're looking at it to think of designs and places to put it or whatever?
The biggest thing is I want to sit there and talk to them for at least 20 to 30 minutes, kind of get their mindset, what they want, what their reason is. Why do you want, say, this patio and seating area? Why do you want that? Because when I first started out, as I said, I was dumb in business, and I just went when somebody would call me, and I'd go to their house and, oh, okay, you want this and this and this and that, and I'd take measurements and leave and give them an estimate and never hear from them again. And I found the biggest part of what I was doing was I was basically giving business to my competitors because they were cheaper. I didn't make that personal connection. So I lost a lot of business. People would, if they did respond, would say, well, we're going to go with this option because it's cheaper. And I'll tell you, and every interview I do, the word pavers is one of the worst words I can ever hear, because they're cheap. So a lot of people do them. And in 2 to 3 years, they're doing them again because of, Mother Nature. You get a bunch of like a paver walkway, for example. Somebody gets a paver walkway because it's cheap, and then you get 6 months of rain, and the pavers become uneven and as they say, cattywampus, and then you trip on one and break your ankle. Well, what's the cost of that? 10,000-15,000. Whereas you could have had me come in from the beginning and spend 5,000, and I'd have poured a complete concrete walkway to a beautiful patio area with a nice water or a fire pit and concrete seating area, and it would have saved you time and money. But what I do is I sit down and that's the main question I ask them. Why do you want to do this? Do you want something that's going to make your neighbors jealous? Do you want to, keeping up with the Kardashians, that kind of thing? Do you want something that's going to make lasting family memories, or you just have a shit ton of money that you want to spend? In which case I'll upgrade them to a nice water feature. But I sit down and I try to make that personal connection that a lot of people don't. A lot of contractors are the same way I was when I started out. Okay, I'm going to come in. Okay, you want this. Okay, take measurements and leave. I'll send you an estimate. And I've learned over time and working with several people that you're not really going to sell anything that way unless you're the cheapest one on the block. So you have to make that personal connection. You have to find out their why they want it. What are they going to gain from that? And when I've found over the last, several months, when you actually sit down and have a conversation with somebody instead of being rushed, and you find out the reason they want to install whatever, a fire pit, water feature, whatever the case may be, that you're going to begin to make that personal connection. And you don't just go take measurements and say, okay, I'll send you this paperwork, and if you like it, you sign it. If you don't, I'll never hear from you again. When you sit and talk to people, they get to know you. And a lot of what I've learned is people buy from somebody they know, like, and trust. Those are the 3 key things: know, like, and trust. Well, if they know you because you sit down and talk with them, they like you because of the rapport you have with them. So they begin to trust you. And that's what helps. To sound bold, that's what helps sell. But I'm not in the business of selling. I'm in the business of changing people's lives. So any way I can help to facilitate that, that's what I'm going to do. So when you make that personal connection, of course, it helps.
I like that a lot.
I have a really weird question, and I don't know how to phrase it without sounding like an asshole, so I'm just going to ask it.
If it doesn't involve turtles, it's not weird.
All right, now it's weird. So No, like you had said,
You're welcome.
you're not in the business of selling per se, but getting on that personal level with people helps sell, which obviously I resonate with. But
Right.
at the same time, when you're running a business, you have to sell, or else you don't have a business, right? So
You do.
what's the
Go
balance?
ahead. Go ahead.
What's the balance there? I mean, in your mind and in your business.
The balance is you have to ultimately find something you love doing. You know, there's an old saying that do what you love to do and you'll never work a day in your life.
Yep.
And that when I started to I had heard it, oh my God, a bazillion times. But when I actually got into business and I started thinking about it, it really resonates. When you truly enjoy what you're doing, like when I'll give you a perfect example. When I first got out of the military and became an electrician, I became an electrician because when I got out of the military, when I was in the military, I was in field artillery. You know, we blew shit up from 10 miles away. It's kind of hard to find a job doing that in the civilian world. They kind of frown upon that.
But it would be
So
awesome.
it would be awesome. But as I said, you know, people frown upon that. So when I got out of the military, I went on again, Craigslist and looked at several jobs, sent, I don't know, 20 applications in to several different companies. And being an electrician at a small shop at the town I lived in Florida, they were the first ones to respond. So that's what I went with. You know, the first one that wanted to hire me, I'm out of the Army. I need to have money. That's what I'm going to do. And when I first got into it, it was exciting. It was new, you know, kind of shiny object syndrome, as they say in business.
Yeah.
And I loved it. You know, after working on several jobs and getting electrocuted several times, not so much fun anymore. Yeah. You know, a short story I'll share with you. When I first started in trade, like I said, started with a small company. The owner of the company used to come work with us every day. That's how small the company was. There was like 8 of us, I think, total, and I was the new guy. Well, we would all be on the same job site and sit around at lunchtime, and everybody would share their stories of, you know, how they got electrocuted or bit, as they say, by whatever voltage they were working with. And I would sit back and listen. And when there was a gap in the conversation, I finally sat up and I said, you know what? It sounds to me like it's all, you know, everybody makes mistakes. I don't plan on making those mistakes. And the owner looked directly at me and he said, if that's your mindset, you're in the wrong trade. 2 weeks later, I got electrocuted. Not bad, but I got electrocuted and I got my first taste of electrical energy. And that really straightened me out, I guess you could say. So that was my introduction. But over the years, I lost the passion for it. I'm kind of burnt out on doing it. I want to do something different. So when I got into the hardscaping, again, shiny object syndrome, it was new, it was exciting, you know, it was awesome. You know, I see the possibilities of what we can do with the products that I'm afforded to do them with. And I've realized, you know, I can install all the electrical wiring, the receptacles and switches in somebody's house. Yeah, okay, it helps them. It gives them light, gives them power. What's the end goal? You know, they're going to end up selling their house and move on. But with the hardscaping, it gives me the opportunity to actually change people's lives. You know, if somebody lives like me as a prime example, you know, I live, I don't know, what's the distance between North Carolina and California? A lot of miles.
A lot.
That's where all my family and relatives are. If I lived close and I installed this amazing water feature in my backyard that actually gets relatives to come over that I haven't talked to in years, what's the price tag on that?
Priceless.
There isn't. Yeah, exactly. There is none.
2,000.
So I realize 2000. Sorry, cat jumped on my lap again. You might get let's see, 2000. You might get a fire pit, maybe one bench seat for that. But price is irrelevant when you have those lasting family memories. So that's what really got me excited and got me into the hardscaping thing is seeing not only the possibilities of what we can do with our products, but being able to change people's lives for the better. Did I answer your question? I'm sorry, I went off on a rant.
That's what we like, man.
Yeah. You answered it and some.
What was the original question? I'm sorry, I might be able to answer it now.
At what point do you work for free versus make money?
What point do I work for free versus make money?
That was the original question.
Of course, I've got to keep bills paid, and I'm married, so anybody that's married knows I got to keep mama happy, because happy wife, happy life. So as long as we have money to shop and get virtually whatever the hell she wants, then I'm happy. But that's the personal aspect. The business aspect is, as long as I can go out and change enough people's lives that will help me continue to doing what I'm doing, I'm happy.
I like it.
So I'll wrap up with one final question, and
okay,
we can thank Mike Dalbo for this.
Yeah, love Mike.
We had talked about being a veteran and stuff like that, and he had said something that really kind of like fucked my brain up a little bit, and now I don't think the same way, which is awesome. But he said something like, people are always really ready to jump the gun and be like, oh, you're a veteran, thank you for your service. And he's like, yeah, cool, whatever. But nobody ever is like, what are you doing after your service? And so it's not even a question, really. I just wanted to say that with all of the veteran suicides and homelessness, other issues that are going on with the veterans, because our government is not taking care of them, obviously. I think it's really cool that you're in with a group of veteran business owners, and you guys are all taking that next step together and moving forward with your lives instead of letting past experiences kind of shoot you to the ground.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly, and there's actually a local group. It's a veterans group. It's called ALCOVETS, which stands for Alamance County Veterans, which is the county that I'm in North Carolina. And it goes much broader than that. And a lot of us in the veteran groups that I'm in talk about that all the time. Is about that number 22. There's a gentleman named J.D. Tierney. Who he does his custom made hats, which I'm wearing even though my video quality sucks, that he made for me. And he did one recently, actually did several patches recently for several nonprofits trying to bring awareness to that 22. There's a gentleman by the name of Richard Kaufman. He's in he's a good friend of Rob's. That he's the comeback coach. He's a big advocate for trying to do away with the number 22, as far as trying to bring that number to 0. And there's several others. There's a guy named Mark Cavalli who has a Facebook group, Joint Task Force 22 to 0. That is, he's trying to do the exact same thing, trying to bring that number to 0. I think a lot of how do I put this? the beginnings of that stems from when you're in the military, you have a defined purpose. Your purpose is to train for war and go kill, basically. Blow shit up, slit throats, whatever the case may be. When you get out of the military, you don't have that purpose anymore. So a lot of veterans struggle to find their purpose after the military.
That makes
There's
sense.
a good friend of mine, Kurt Balish, at a Fayetteville, North Carolina, right outside. I mean, literally not even 5 minutes outside Fort Bragg. That's working on a nonprofit to start a program. He's a third generation woodworker, custom woodworking. If you haven't looked him up, you need to. It's on Facebook. It's Kurt Jamie Balish because he has a joint account with his wife. But he's, as I said, he's a third generation woodworker. The guy does amazing custom woodworking products. He's working on a nonprofit to help those getting ready to transition out of the military at Fort Bragg to start, but he plans on expanding it nationwide to learn different skill sets as far as he's doing the woodworking portion. We've got another gentleman, Donald Dodson, out of Pennsylvania, who's also a veteran, does custom leather work. They're working together so that somebody can come that's, like I said, locally out of Fort Bragg, getting ready to transition out, can learn woodworking, leather work, and they're working with other contractors to try to expand that to iron works, whatever the case may be, so that they can learn a skill before they get out to kind of have that purpose. Because that's the biggest issue, is when they get out of the military, they don't have that purpose. I'm always willing to work with veterans that are interested in working or learning concrete work, to help give them that purpose. We're all trying to eliminate that number 22. We don't want to see that any more than anybody else does. That really affects us as veterans more. I don't want to say more than civilians, because obviously, death is a death, whether it be, suicide, car accident, somebody hit by a bus, whatever the case may be. But in the veteran community, that really strikes a chord, because, as I said, they don't have that purpose. So they're trying to find it. And a lot of people just don't have that sense of hope afterwards. So Kurt and Donald and Richard Kaufman, Michael Dolbo as well, Rob Garcia, all of us veterans are trying to bring people together to help them find that purpose after they get out of the military. So I really think that will help dwindle that number down, and that's the ultimate goal for all of us.
I like it.
I
Speechless.
hope I answered your question, not question.
I thought for sure Brad was going to start talking about his dad, but
No,
because I wasn't raised anywhere near military. Well, I mean, my next door neighbor was, but it didn't affect me. And so,
Okay, so let's transition into I got a story for you. I was raised in a military town, of course, of San Diego. I grew up around Navy and Marines. So what do I do in high school? I joined Army ROTC just to get away from all the squids and crayon eaters. So that was my ultimate goal for joining the Army. And so yeah, I enjoyed every bit of it, and now I talk to all of them and have no fear of any of them. Of course, Rob Garcia is Air Force. We count him as kind of special, but it is what it is.
yeah, my dad served in the Marines, and he was 1 year short of going to Vietnam, and he was really angry.
Awesome. Yeah, my father-in-law was in the Army, and during the time of Vietnam, and didn't get to go. I'll tell you a story. I was in right after I joined the Army officially in August of '89, and got to my first duty station, which by my choosing was Germany, and I don't regret one bit of it, and I'm dying to go back there someday. But I was in Germany from December of 89 to May of 92. So when I got there, right after that, Desert Storm happened. And I was ready to go. I was like, let's go. Didn't know what it was about. Didn't know who was fighting who, whatever the case may be. I was ready to go. I was hard charging. I'm Army. Let's do this. And right before my unit was slated to go, the war ended. So I didn't get to go nowhere. So fast forward several years later, getting out, coming back in, getting out, coming back in for the third time. I was stationed at Fort Hood, Texas, in the more than famous, most recognizable unit in the military, 1st Cavalry Division. Anybody ever seen the movie We Were Soldiers with Mel Gibson?
Yep.
The choppers with the big yellow patch on the front of them with the horse and stripe and all that. I was in 1st Cav. So I was like, yeah, we're going to go do something now. No, denied. So when what was it? When Iraq invaded Kuwait and everybody was looking for Saddam and all that, we were like, yeah, we actually had orders to go. Well, at Fort Hood, there's 2 major units, 1st Cav and 4th ID. 4th ID, apparently their commander had complained that 1st Cav, being the most recognizable unit in the military, always got to go everywhere first. They get to go do everything. I want to go do something kind of deal. So 4th Infantry got to deploy to Baghdad, Iraq before we did, when we were actually supposed to go. So if you're a news history buff and have ever seen anything about who captured Saddam, it was 4th ID. Exactly in the place that we were supposed to be at the time we were supposed to be, and got the big foot locker full of cash and all that good stuff, and got the credit. Yeah, good for them. And we got to go afterwards. So I spent 14 months in Baghdad on a trip that was supposed to be 10 months, and we got extended twice. That was our unit commander's pep talk, I guess you could say, to us. We got extended more than any unit in the military at the time. So we were all like, as a general consensus, that's not really a bragging right that we want. We were ready to go home at 10 months, and now we've been here 14. Can we go home now? So yeah, congratulations to 4th ID. Should have been 1st Cav. Who the saying goes, if you ain't Cav, you ain't shit. And I firmly believe that.
Funny enough, one of my buddies joined the Marines, and he went into the motorcade, and he's like, yeah, I'm a Marine, and my dad was an 0311 in the infantry for the Marines. Mm-hmm. And the funniest thing in the world, he came up, he goes, yeah, I'm a Marine, and my dad looked at him, he goes, fuck you are. And he goes, wait, what? He goes, if you ain't infantry, you ain't a Marine. You're just a bitch.
Amen. Amen. Like I said, I grew up around Navy Marines, and a lot of Marines will tell you the exact same thing.
Oh, yeah. I thought it was the funniest thing in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Love it, love it, love it. I'm glad you guys are doing this. I mean, it helps not only get awareness for several different upstart companies such as myself, but it also helps bring awareness to different veteran issues. And I'm always about that. And I'm truly, truly appreciative you guys had me on. If there's any way I can ever help, believe me, I will. I talked to you earlier. When this thing drops, I'm going to promote the shit out of it. I've already talked to several of the veteran groups I'm in, as well as, I posted it on my timeline, on my regular timeline on Facebook. So, if I can help you guys get awareness, I'm all about it. Everybody helps each other. That's the way I believe. That's the way I live. That's the way things have to be.
That's pretty much the only ask that we ever have is you have reached that we don't. We have reached that you don't. So
Exactly.
basically, we'll promote each other, and that's it. I mean, because we're gonna blow up. Hopefully, eventually, you guys blow up because we're not that big. But
Right.
I mean, I think we have a really good idea because we are not like anything else that's out as far as podcasts go.
Yeah.
So it's
Absolutely.
a matter of getting our name out, and it'll go. But we appreciate
Absolutely. Yeah.
having you on so
Yeah,
much. And
it's been awesome having you on.
Absolutely. It was my honor. Believe me.